All right, everybody, welcome to another Tuesday night of ridiculous abnormal fun. So, we're going to talk about some interesting things. First of all, we got to start right here. Okay.
Okay, fantastic.
I guess you can figure out what that's all about, folks.
Happy birthday
And,
to me.
huh?
Happy birthday to me.
There you go. Now, to get things rolling, look what he got today. I guess you got that in
Yeah.
the mail. Give us the background story.
Yes, this doll, and I've got it sitting here next to me too, well, he's a little celebrity, is what he is. He's actually a mannequin instead of a doll. I thought he was a doll at first, but he's a big old thing. Let me pick him up here. Looks like he's an really old mannequin that displayed baby clothes back in the day. And he is a little star. He was featured on an episode of Ghost Nation on the Travel Channel, and he comes from an antique store that's had some ghostly activity all the way up in Gettysburg near the battlefield. So he's also from a historic place. He's a celebrity from a from a historic place. And I actually have a clip from the show if you want me to go ahead and play. It's a little 18
Yeah,
seconds,
let's see what this doll did.
just so you can see a little bit. It's just 18 seconds, and it is from Ghost Nation with Jason Halls and all of them. But these are the prior owners I got the doll from who were telling the story here. All right, share screen. There you are. All righty, here we go. Oop, here we go.
Donna came over to the house.
There's a mannequin of a small crawling baby that's in the main part of the general store. It turned to look at me and I locked eyes with it. The eyes were just so evil. Another time.
And that was it. Just a little mention of the doll. But they did put a night camera of it, which you've got a capture of it there. And that, well, let's see. We've got the capture. There it is. They put a night vision camera on it all night in the general store, and they said they did not catch any movement from it. But they've had a hard time selling that doll. In fact, at the end of that episode, they had a little clip when it aired on Travel Channel begging somebody, please buy this doll because we can't get rid of it. Nobody will buy it. So,
what kind of store was it in?
It's called Imogene's Antique Market. She sells all kinds of antique items and clothes, and there were other mannequins and dolls in there, but this was the one that creeped her out the most. She swears several occasions that she's seen it turn.
The picture's misleading. That's a lot bigger than the pictures look.
It's
That's
big.
big. Yeah.
He is a big boy. There's how he looks on TV. There's his TV pose.
There it is. So they had that in their shop. So as soon as you saw the episode, you called them or something.
Yes. Yeah. As soon as the second that they said that it did, I pulled up Imogene's on Facebook. And I made sure it's the same one, Gettysburg, and I sent a message real quick. I would like to stake my claim on this.
So
And
were they asking a lot of money for it, or was it
no, I
reasonable?
mean it is an old mannequin. This mannequin's probably turn of the century, maybe
Hmm.
early 1900s. So they were asking already $200 for it, and they didn't ask for much more, because
Look
it
at
was
that!
on
Look at that!
TV.
See, this is why his
So
internet was off, people. He's spending all his money on dolls,
no,
and
I got plenty of money, but I already paid I always pay my AT&T bill, my
okay,
AT&T.
I got you.
Kevin, happy birthday. Kevin, happy birthday.
Cupcakes, dreamers, pinata, balloons.
Kevin, happy birthday. Kevin, happy birthday.
So I heard it was somebody's birthday.
Yeah, well, I guess you did. Look at all that. Look at all that rammer jammer.
Well, if you hadn't figured it out yet, it's Kevin's birthday. Um, but we are really going to be talking about some spook lights. That was Herbie, the haunted mannequin doll that you got introduced
Yeah,
to for the opening. And so, first of all, I know you've got this very detailed, lengthy definition of what spook lights are.
a lengthy definition. It's funny. I put in just out of curiosity. I already had my answer ready, but for curiosity's sake, I put in on Google what is a spook light, and it gave absolutely nothing. All it did was say, "Click here for stories about spook lights." So, so I can give my
Uh,
own definition. I can tell you that a spook light, usually it's described as a round orb-like thing, at least from afar. That's what it looks like. It's very bright.
so you could
Um,
you could you could act like a spook light because you got this big orb-looking head.
yeah, that big orb. Yeah, that back there is what it looks like in the distance there. Big, bright, round light. And folklore believes that those are spirits manifesting themselves, and especially for some reason they're mainly found around railroad tracks and around open fields, prairies out in Texas. They're loaded with spook lights, and Alabama has their own. But they've also been seen near on bridges over water or railroad tracks, and they've been seen inside homes. And but some of these really weird. They'll show up. You can set your clock by them. Some of these, like I was going to tell a little about the Chapel Hill spook light. They claim you can see it every night on the dot at the same time. And but science will tell you that these things are nothing more than lights created by swamp gas or reflections of headlights on signs on nearby roads, and other things like that, gases from underground. And and some of these locations they've been able to prove that, but there are a lot they've gone out and tested, like the Brown Mountain lights and Chapel Hill. And I don't know if any of these in Alabama have gotten tested yet, but these more well-known ones, they've tried out scientific tests for gas and swamp lights and all this stuff, and they could not determine what the heck it was that they were looking at.
Hmm. So Catherine's been in these parts for all her life. Is there any spook lights down there in Shelby
I
or
haven't seen any.
Talladega?
I have not seen any.
But there is in Alabama, and I know you got other spook light stories. But I added some pictures over there. So you want to start out with the Alabama spook light?
Yeah, that one. Oh, and
Clover.
that's another explanation people would give too is UFOs. I mean, they are unidentified flying objects. So, but such as this one. Now, what is this? This lot here, is it Coverland? Is that what it's called? Alabama?
It's Clover.
Cloverland
Cloverdale
or
Spook Light.
Cloverdale.
I can tell that story if you want me to. But
Well, yeah, you can. Or if you want me to, I can go ahead and share.
no, you had your opportunity. You failed.
I
He
tried.
thinks it's his birthday or something, doesn't he, Kelsey?
Yeah, he gets big headed. Yeah.
It is my birthday.
Happy birthday, Kevin.
Happy birthday, Kevin.
Happy birthday, Kevin.
And happy birthday from Iron Man.
Catherine did get to see the mannequin yet.
You missed that entire story.
Yeah. This is my famous mannequin from the Travel Channel.
All right, Cloverdale, Alabama. Somebody tell us where Cloverdale is, but there's an area in Cloverdale where large yellowish orange spook lights can be seen on an almost routine basis. And they've been seen in this area since the early 70s, literally by hundreds of witnesses. These spook lights are large, they're about 8 feet in diameter, and some have been seen to float 2 or 3 feet from the ground in grassy fields, and others seen much higher, several hundreds of feet above the ground. They suddenly appear and disappear or are in sight for a few seconds to several minutes. The area is accessible to the public, and they are awesomeness to watch. And so there's not a lot of information about that spook light, but I had some. What did I do with this other? Oh, here it is.
They're in
There-
Lauderdale County. Cloverdale is in Lauderdale
Yeah.
County.
Okay.
It's northwest of Florence, Alabama.
Yeah, it's way up almost near the Tennessee line.
So there's actually a guy by the name of Wyatt Cox that wrote a book about these spook lights, and I've got. Hold on a second. I guess we could watch a little video here. Here we go. Let's watch a little video and let the guy that wrote the book tell us a little bit about this. Should we do that?
Yeah.
Right. Give me 1 second to get it set up here. Come on. It's not wanting to share. What's going on? I don't know if you can hear me.
I found a good article. Well, a little bit of an article out there on it too.
All right, I don't know if you can hear me or not, but my computer went into a mode.
Hey, I can hear you.
We can hear you.
It's Chrome is not responding. So go ahead and carry on with something while I'm trying to correct my computer here.
Okay, I can. I mean, I do have a little article about that light here.
Yeah.
Let's see. Here it is. Cloverdale spook lights. It says large yellowish orange spook lights have frequently been spotted along a mile-long stretch of county roads since the early 1970s. It's let's see, Highway 157, also known as Cloverdale Road, is turned there onto Route 272, and it's right in that area near Cloverdale, Alabama. There's an area where large yellowish orange spook lights can be seen on an almost routine basis. They have been seen in this area since the early 1970s by hundreds of witnesses. These spook lights are large, about 8 feet in diameter, and some have been seen floating 2 to 3 feet from the ground in grassy fields. and others are seen much higher, several hundreds of feet above the ground. They suddenly appear and disappear and are in sight from a few seconds to several minutes. The area is accessible to the public and they are awesome to watch. And let me see if I had another one. Oh, here's another one. Here's the Cloverdale UAP project. This one's got a little more information here. Most ufologists are keenly aware of the frequent reports of what people often refer to as orbs, which lacks much clarity. The term is often used to describe objects that turn out to be everything from Chinese lanterns to ball plasma and even navigation lights on aircraft. The term is also used to describe lens flares created from pointing cameras towards a bright light source, an out of focus light, and is also a dust particle that floats in front of a camera. There exists, though, another class of objects that science has yet to fully explain, which seems to be a naturally recurring phenomena that are seen in certain geographic areas with increased frequencies almost nightly than the objects previously mentioned. In 1973, Piedmont, Missouri experienced a rash of sightings of luminous phenomena.
Phenomenon.
And documented by Dr. Harley Rutledge in his book, Project Identification. Missouri was not the only location that experienced this phenomena. In 1973, in Cloverdale, Alabama, a small town located in the northwestern part of Alabama, similar lights were being seen almost nightly and appeared to be balls of luminous lights of varying colors. Residents saw these objects so frequently that they just ignore them now. It's those dang lights again, they say. The Cloverdale phenomena continues to appear even today. Wyatt Cox, a foreign native of the area now residing in South Carolina, has documented and classified many hundreds of sightings. Ooh, there's a bad echo. I don't know what that was. Okay. Wyatt has done an excellent job in creating a classification system for the variations seen of the lights. The lights vary in size, speed, and duration based on the colors noted. White lights are generally seen during warmer months, where yellow, orange lights tend to be seen during cooler months. So these lights in Cloverdale are kind of seasonal there on their colors. The spook lights, now referred to as earth lights by Wyatt, tend to be 8 feet in diameter, which we already said, and can be seen at ground level and rise to altitudes of several thousand feet. They move at 20 miles per hour, but can also stop and then proceed in their path. The lights can go out and then come back on as they proceed on their path, and they generally disappear by fading out. And we had that time-lapsed photo that we put up earlier. There it is, of one of the occurrences up there in Cloverdale, Alabama. So it's kind of leaving a trail there, a little bit of a streak.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I had to reset some stuff. I'm going to try to share this video now.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah. Yeah, I can see it. Oh, there's no sound.
Okay, I missed the sound.
Yeah.
Let me start it over. Let me start. I forgot. All right, hold on. Hold on, we're gonna start it over. Yeah, you got to click that sound button.
Yeah.
All right.
And one of the farmers see this ball of light come by just a few feet off the ground. And it's going by. And he yells at his friend and said, "Wow, what is that? Look at this." And the guy less than 100 feet away, he said, "What are you looking at?" He said, I don't see it. This guy didn't see it. Yeah, you actually cut your hands on this thing. So, there we go. Okay. We got the baby in its car seat.
I was like trying to figure out how can I get all my stuff on one tripod.
That's how you do it.
That's how you do it.
This is where we may set up tonight, right here in the carport. So we can actually set up outside the carport. And if it starts to rain, a couple of us can just pick up the whole WMD and move it right in here. So we'll be under the shelter of the carport. But in terms of viewing, I'd like to actually set up probably right in this neighborhood because, you know, much of the stuff comes from the east. Some stuff can come from the west. We don't want to miss that. And some stuff has sort of come around and swept right through here. They had one that actually kind of landed on the road over here. So I think if we set up right in this area, and if it does start to rain, we can just easily pick up the equipment and carry it right into the carport.
We should have done an inventory check before.
Now we know. Next time.
Do I look like a hip man with these gloves on? It's so funny. I get rid of these gloves as fast as I can, especially in public. When people see this. My name is Wyatt Cox. I was born and raised in this area here. I live in another state now in South Carolina. I have an interest in earthlights, and that interest began for me as a teenager back in 1977. Well, when a mutual friend in high school had mentioned that his mother has these strange lights near their property. And another friend of mine, we had an interest in UFOs and that kind of thing. So we went to check it out, and sure enough, we saw for that first time a very large ball of light that we call earth lights. Back then, I think people call them spook lights. And that's what got it started for me is in 1977 when I first saw a large earth light moving right about treetop level. It was in sight for several minutes. It was just an amazing thing to see. So since then, a friend of mine and I have been looking at this area here quite a bit. We've viewed a lot of earth lights, and we've tried to pinpoint where some of the better locations are that we can see these earth lights, and talked to a lot of folks that have seen them as well. So our interest has just kept going and going and going. Now from 1977 to today, we still have this interest in the earth lights. So we're still coming out here from time to time, hoping to see a good sighting of a large earth light. And sometimes we have some really good, amazing sightings. Sometimes we don't, but a lot of times we do. So it's just a hobby of ours, but we love it, and it's really amazing. And hopefully, one day this mystery will be solved. It has been an evolution. We have started just trying to think, wow, what are we watching here? Because you see these large balls of yellowish orange light they're not flickering, or they're pulsating balls of light. They seem sometimes near the ground, sometimes a few hundred feet from the ground, moving slowly. They don't make any sound. They're unaffected by the wind. As we've seen more and more of these, and I've probably since 1977 until now, I've probably seen about 200 of these. So yes, my views on this have changed, but I'm getting to a point now. I think I'm asking the right questions because it seems to be a complex phenomenon. And every time I learn something, I see more sightings, I learn more, and it's like, wow, I didn't know this, I didn't know that. And I'm just trying to connect the dots and trying to figure this out. Now I've got some folks here that hopefully can help in a big way. I've written a book as well. It's called Spook Light, The Amazing Cloverdale, Alabama Spook Light Mystery. It was written a few years ago. I had so much interest in these earth lights, and it had been going on for so long. I thought if I write the book, I can finally get some kind of closure on this for me and say, okay, I've done it. I wrote the book. Now I can move on to other things. But after writing the book, I realized my interest probably increased even more One of the things I keep going back to, seems to be a stable geological fault in the area, like where we're standing now even. And if there is electrical currents here, there are the right minerals, quartz, iron ore, etc. I think potentially it can produce electrical field, and it may be charging some of the pockets of air, methane gas, whatever. But that's what we first thought, and we still think there's a connection to that. But there's other phenomena that are seen here that's associated with the Earth lights, and we're really struggling. I'm really struggling. I really don't know yet after all these years and of all these sightings. I'm still trying to figure it out. There's been a lot of UFO activity in the area. There's no doubt about that. From 1973, this area had a large UFO flap. And in 1973 is the first recorded sighting I can find of an Earthlight sighting in this area. Is it connected to the UFO phenomena? That's one of the questions that's been asked over and over and over. This is a complex phenomena. Right now that question's unanswered, and I'm hoping to get an answer to that, to be honest. Right now I'm just not sure.
But you were telling me a very interesting story about the railway track.
Yeah.
What happened there?
Well, several years ago, a good friend of mine, Greg Keaton, and there's this other location where we went to quite often to watch these Earth lights. And it was a good spot. We could sometimes see 2 or 3 a night, even more on occasion. And in this large field, on the other side of this field is what we call the old prison camp. It used to be a prison camp there. And between the private property and the prison camp is a set of railroad tracks. Well, we go to that high point in this field so we get a good view, and we'd watch the Earth lights. Well, this one night, I guess it always happens, getting ready to go, getting late, and like, man, we got to go. I've got to go to work tomorrow. Let me go put my camera stuff up, and we'll go. And my friend says, yeah, okay. But he doesn't come with me. He stays back there. So I go put my camera stuff up. And then I have to go get my friend and say, come on. And at the time, he said, hey, there's a train coming. I can hear it coming. And there's some woods and all, so you can't see the train, but you begin to see the light appears through the darkness, And then he kind of makes the joke and says, well, why don't we watch the train go by? That way we can actually tell people we saw a light tonight, And it's just a fun thing. He says, yeah, okay. Well, as we're watching the train to our left, one of us looks to our right down the track, and there is this Earth light about 8 feet in diameter. We see it it's in plain sight. It's not that far away. It's bright. It's just hovering about 25 feet above the tracks and just sitting there. And it's just a pulsating ball of light. And here comes the train. And there's the light. And then right the engine compartment of the train gets directly under the light. They just both go off like they're locked together. And obviously to us, after looking at that and considering that sighting over the years, there has to be some kind of connection. And why was that Earth light there at that time? The train came is something we talk about, even today. We don't know. Why would it be there at that time when we are there? And the cameras are put up sometimes too. It's like, you can't prove it's there, but there have been times when we've seen those and we would change locations even. Like, okay, we're going to try to get closer to it. We're going to get closer. And then it might appear a little bit off to the side. Then if we were to go back to our original position, then it would shift again. So it does react to people. Is that life? Is that I have no explanation for that except to say it responds and reacts to people. There's been a couple of occasions where it seems to have reacted in a way that I can't really explain. Like in one case where I'm watching an Earth light and I think it's far away. And I go, well, that one's far away. I don't really care about that one because it was just a smaller point of light. And then right when I could, for just a brief point of time, get a good view of it, then it enlarges to its full 8-foot diameter size. Only when I get that good view of it. And then as it goes past a few more trees and I can't see it real good, but I can see it, but not real good, then it went right back to its small size and just kept going. And I was watching it from a distance, but it was that's a far away one, But only when I got the best of all the views for that brief, say 4 or 5 seconds, and it just lit up. And after, it's like, how coincidental is that?
Wow. What'd you think of that?
That's very interesting. That's some good stuff there.
Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. You got a visitor.
It is your birthday. Let's have some fun. It is your birthday. Let's have some fun. It is your birthday. Let's have some fun.
That's pretty good.
I heard it was somebody's birthday. I don't know whose, but
Yeah, you don't have any clue, do you?
well, it is 30 minutes past the big hour of 7 o'clock. There's Kevin the Cane, and he has more haunted dolls in his house now. And if you hadn't been to his website, myhauntedDolls.com, oh, man, got new additions. I assume we're going to do some EVP, spirit box work with this guy. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can. They kind of froze.
Yeah. So I assume we're going to do some EVP work, spirit box stuff with Herbie.
With Herbie the Haunted Mannequin. Okay, yeah, this is going to be the very next video.
There you
I'm
go.
planning this weekend. So
You couldn't tell from the pictures that doll's big.
it is. It's a mannequin. That's
Yeah.
what it is.
Well, you got to get some full size mannequins so he's got a family.
they got a couple of more in that store, they claim.
Yeah.
I've seen them move.
Well, let's not forget that we've also got this. There's no sound.
I bet this is the wish thing, the wishing machine.
Doctor is here. Started this in August of 2020. Literally, Kevin, I have shipped this all over the world. I have sold them from Alaska to Georgia, Florida, New York, all through the Carolinas, name it, Canada, Mexico, Australia,
Greece.
Germany. Just sent one to Greece today.
Greece.
Absolutely. And, you know, a week ago, there was a conspiracy theory rumor. I don't know if you heard this or not, but they said that the Pope got arrested for child molestation. Did you hear that?
I think I heard that last week, didn't I?
Yeah, a week ago.
Yeah.
And the very morning that they said that happened, the very next morning, I get an order from Rome, Italy, where the Vatican is, for a wishing machine. Clearly, the Pope says the rosary's not working, so we got. And so, literally, this has been amazing. I've got 4 on my bench right now. So, yeah, there you go. The wishing machine has been sent all over the world and still selling. I've got 4 more to build out and get mailed out by the end of the week. So if you hadn't got your wishing machine yet, and I get reviews on this too that I have to share. You got to share those reviews, right?
Yeah.
Let's see. Let me find. Where did I find? Let me find. The latest review. I just got this review today. I love this thing. I just wanted something. I've wanted something like this wish machine for years, and this one fits the bill perfectly. 2 thumbs up. Wow. Okay. So if you hadn't got your wish machine yet, you need to get over there and get it, because who knows? I might quit making them one day. And it's like, ooh, you better grab it. All right. Do we have now? I know we started out, of course, with the. I never heard it called Earthlight, Spook Light, but now Earthlight. I guess is a newer term they're using for it.
Yeah, and that article about this
Cloverdale.
Cloverdale
So
Spook
bottom line.
Light, they've used that term because I guess because they're thinking it might be an earthly reason for it, but they hadn't found it yet.
So I understand you've got some more of this stuff going on there. You've got
Yeah, I've got.
where this. I don't know where this stuff keeps coming from. It pops up there out of nowhere. I
Oh,
think
that is just awesome.
we got a poltergeist. All right. So Kevin, tell us some spook light stories.
Okay, I got this. And every time I think of spook lights, the one I would say is one of the, if not the oldest and most popular around here, is the one we go all the way down to Selma to a spook light that's been seen for well over 100 years, 150 years, we think. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up this illustration. This is the down in Dallas, Alabama, down near Selma. That's a artist's conception of what it might have looked like. Some may know it as the Spectre and the Maze at Cahaba, because it was once a maze of trees in this area where this light has been seen, and they claim it's still seen there. So I'll go ahead and tell the story here. Antebellum Cahaba was a pleasant place to live. There seemed to be no limit to the round of entertainment and visiting in the Dallas County town. Fine carriages awaited the arrival of each boat at the Cahaba landing to convey passengers to the homes where they would be guests. Down Vine Street, Cahaba's principal business section, they drove past its paved walks, shaded by ancient water oaks, mulberry and chinaberry trees, past the newspaper offices, the churches, the stores, the telegraph office. Makes me want to go all southern here reading this. Just outside of town was the racetrack. Sometimes the rider who won the race would receive a silver-trimmed saddle as a prize. But some of the spectators won far more valuable monetary trophies. Beyond the racetrack was a secluded spot where cockfighting and occasionally gander pullings attracted the younger gentlemen of the neighborhood. These sports, however, were frowned upon by their elders, and those who frequented them never talked about these events at home. If the guests drove through Cahaba in the afternoon, they would likely see the town's lawyers and doctors sitting along the shady sidewalks with their chairs tilted back and their feet resting on the gnarled tree trunks, laughing and talking until lengthened shadows signaled it was time for supper. There was Saltmarsh Hall, scene of the masked balls, enactments of romantic scenes from Byron and Moore, fanciful tableaux and political orations fiery with the talk of secession. Here at Saltmarsh Hall, the battle flag was presented to the Cahaba Rifles before the unit departed for service in the Confederate Army. The flag, which was in front on every field of battle from Manassas to Fredericksburg, was accepted by Colonel C.C. Pegues, is what this, I think this is how it's pronounced. Pegues, commanding officer of the Cahaba Rifles, Company F, 5th Alabama Regiment. It was this Confederate officer, Colonel Pegues, who owned the property in which the ghostly phenomenon, there's that word again,
Phenomenon.
bearing his name, manifested itself. The the Piggies' Ghost Light. There were grander and costlier homes in Cahaba than the one occupied by Colonel Piggies and his family. But none, I think it's pronounced Piggies. That's right, Piggies and his family. But none could surpass it in hospitality.
Are you saying
Piggies,
piggies?
Piggies sounds stupid. So I got to looking and yeah, it's Piggies. I remember I had to go on the video about it and listen to it earlier. I didn't want to call it Piggies, but there I went anyway. Okay, Piggies, that's the proper way. And his family, but none could surpass it in hospitality. The house had been a jail during the years 1820 to 1826 when Cahaba was the capital of Alabama, a background that provided the Piggies family much amusement. We lived down in the jail, you know, they would say to people and get surprised looks. After Colonel Piggies purchased the property, he planned and supervised its renovation so expertly that it bore no resemblance to the place of incarceration it had once been. The Piggies' home fronted on Pine Street and occupied the entire block between Pine and Chestnut. Magnolia trees, Lombardy pines, and oaks grew about the grounds, and flower gardens and fountains added to the tranquil beauty of the place. The most distinctive feature of the premises, and one most enjoyed by guests from all about, especially young guests, was the labyrinth of maze of thick cedars that were around there, a nice labyrinth, a maze that these cedars formed. No place in Cahaba was more popular with couples out for a stroll than this evergreen labyrinth, and leisurely walks through the Piggies maze became a part of the ritual of courtship in Cahaba. For those of you youngins that don't know what courtship is, that's what we call dating or hooking up nowadays. Back then it was courtship. So it was that one soft moonlit night in the spring of 1862, a young Confederate soldier and his sweetheart were promenading in the Piggies' garden. He had only a few days' leave, and there was much he wanted to say to the beautiful girl beside him. And that's where we get the illustration on the screen there. Before the promenade began, the young couple had paid a proper call on the elders in the Piggies' home. The soldier perhaps had brought messages from Colonel Piggies, who was at that time in Virginia with the Cahaba Rifles. With this duty discharged, they now turned their thoughts from the tragedy of the war to the joy of their own reunion. Their stroll led them naturally to the maze of cedars. They had entered one of the circular walks leading to the center of the labyrinth when a large, white, glowing ball suddenly darted toward them. It appeared to be floating in the air a few feet above the ground, as though controlled by some powerful but invisible force. The ball played a taunting game with them, swerving from one side of the walk to the other, and then hovering directly in front of the couple, almost daring them to catch it. Then it would recede and disappear in the thick cedars, reappearing seconds later right beside the startled pair. The soldier, being accustomed to having solid and logical explanations for all happenings, was at a loss to explain the antics of this luminous ball or to account for its origin. But he decided that it was an illusion caused by the reflections of the moonlight on some object hidden from their view. "Don't be frightened," he said, putting his arm gently and protectively around the girl's waist. "It's just some trick of the moonlight. Let's walk back toward the house. I'm sure that thing won't appear again." But it did. They had retraced their steps only a short distance through the maze when the bright sphere appeared in front of them and began performing all sorts of gyrations. This time, motivated by both curiosity and exasperation, the soldier jumped toward the object and tried to catch it. But just as he seemed to have it in his grasp, the ball twirled away and disappeared completely. When the young people returned to the Pegues home with their strange story, they were accused of being moonstruck. Moonstruck. All right. However, the account of their encounter with the apparition was upsetting to the women of the household, who wished more fervently than ever that Colonel Pegues were at home to protect them from whatever it was that was cavorting around in the night. After its initial appearance, the dancing ball of light was seen by several other persons. Their stories of its erratic behavior differed only in small details from the accounts given by the couple first who saw it. The phenomenon, again, there's that word, phenomenon.
Phenomenon.
The phenomenon became known as Pegues' ghost, and stories of its antics were told throughout the countryside. Strolling in the maze became more popular than ever, as couples hoped, yet feared, that they might also have an encounter with the eerie object. And what girl could object to having a strong protective arm around her in such frightening surroundings? Colonel Pegues himself probably never heard about the ghostly ball which bears his name. He was mortally wounded in the Battle of Gaines Mill, Virginia on June 27, 1862, and died July 15, 1862. He was buried at Hollywood Cemetery in Richmond, Virginia. When news of his death reached Cahaba, a servant boy ringing a bell went from house to house carrying a black boarded funeral notice. From the messenger's shoulders flowed long black streamers known as weepers, a Cahaba custom which has long since disappeared. Gone too are the old Pegues home, the flowering shrubs, the fountains, and the maze. A few clumps of old-fashioned yellow jonquils and some scattered piles of broken brick are all that remain to mark the scene where the strange, bright Pegues ghost ball caused such excitement more than a century ago. But stories of the glowing ball are still told, and occasionally a fisherman returning home late at night from an outing on the river, or a hunter trying to follow the baying of his hound, will report seeing a white fireball near the circles of cedars, which once provided a background for a supernatural display. And that was the Pegues ghost light. That's a really old story right there. It might be the oldest ghost light.
That's Civil War type.
Yeah. And I've not heard recent stories, but the legend is still there. And people in that area still claim you can see it on moonlit nights. Go out there with your lover and look for the ball. And but that is a fascinating story that's never been explained. And the erratic movements it made was very interesting.
There is some out in the west. I'm trying to think of those mountains. That it was a common thing. See if I can find it. But it used to be. That was the first time I heard of it. I can't remember the name of those mountains.
Just mounds?
Mountains.
Oh, mountains.
Mountains. Where are those mountains?
There's the Brown Mountain Lights, but that's on the East Coast here.
Yeah, this is out like in Texas. Look,
Are you talking about the ones out in Oklahoma?
No. Chinati.
Oh, okay.
Chinati. They're called the Marfa lights.
Oh yeah, I remember those.
Have you seen those?
I've heard of those. I remembered today when I was looking through, I saw the Marfa lights come up.
I hate to go to some of these websites and their entire page is black. Have you seen those? And it's like you got to kind of. Yeah. Okay, Texas has 3 sets. In fact, 3 ghost lights in Texas that are Okay, I lost my place. That other. Sorry
Hello. Hello.
about that.
Hello.
Known as Ghost Road, the remote path carved through the big thicket used to be part of the Gulf, Colorado and Santa Fe Railway. There you go with trains again. The trains transported people, cattle, oil, and logs until the area's oil reserves and virgin pine trees were exhausted. Legend has it that one fateful day there was a terrible railroad accident that decapitated the conductor, condemning him to an eternity of haunting the road for his head in search of it, guided only by the light of his lantern. So you see where this is going. If you're brave enough to come check it out, Bragg Road is 16 miles west of Quincy and 1.7 miles north of the intersection of FM 787 and 770 near Saratoga. And then the other Texas lights, the Marfa lights, also, of course, called the Ghost Light, Spook lights. They got all kind of names. The Marfa lights are a phenomenon. There's Kevin's word.
Yeah, phenomena.
Phenomena that draws visitors from all over the state. People have been observing them for over a century, with written accounts dating back to 1883, when a cowhand observed them and assumed they were campfires lit by Apache Indians. The urban legends attribute the spooky orbs to UFOs, but the most plausible explanation is an atmospheric condition that bends light at faraway distances when warm and cold air interact. Even though science might be the only culprit here, the lights are still a fun activity for the whole family to enjoy. There's even an observation tower located on Highway 90 for better viewing. Boy, they get into it there, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
They want you to see them lights for sure. It is going on 8 o'clock. And we are Kevin, Kelsey, and Catherine. And we are KKC. Okay.
KKC or
No, it's got to
CKK.
be C comes before K's. It's CKK.
CKK. All right. Anyway, yeah, should speak to the hand. Kevin, myhaunteddogs.com. He's written about 13 books. In fact, he wrote so many he lost count of the number of books he's written. What's your latest book, Kevin?
That is my haunted collection, The Dark Side.
The Dark Side.
Which tells the stories behind some of the dolls that have a much darker story with them, or come from a location with a dark history, like one doll that was pulled from the rubble of a murder house where a father murdered his wife and 2 daughters, and this doll once belonged to one of the daughters, and it's had some activity around it. There's a doll that I had to exorcise, and it's locked up or sealed up. In fact, you see it on the cover there. She looks pretty, but don't let her fool you. And even a Jack-in-the-Box clown his clown likes to flip bird, and he likes to scratch people. So these stories and more
coming to you soon.
right
here.
Available at myhaunteddogs.com, or you can get it on Amazon, Kindle, Books A Million. But get your autographed copy at myhaunteddogs.com.
And it's very important that you order your books right now, and let me show you why.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Cupcakes. Dreamers. Pinata. Balloons.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
So there is the reason that you need to get there. Go to myhaunteddogs.com and treat him with a special birthday present by buying a book. How's that? All right. And If you do that, then swing on over to the wishdr.com and get your wishing machine so you can make your wishes come true. Don't forget to do that. And I bet Kevin's got some more spooky. Well, wait a minute. I got another one or two as well. Let me find. I got lost here. Let me find the page where I was sharing these stories before I
See,
got
I got mine
distracted.
already.
The Anson Ghost Lights from Anson. Located 20 miles north of Abilene, Anson is a little town harboring a sinister, you got that right, sinister secret. The lights appear at the cemetery, right off the main road, and can be described as a dim white glow that slowly approaches your car. The story goes a little something like this. A woman and her two sons lived on the cemetery road way back in the 1800s. One cold winter night, the boys were sent off into the forest to collect firewood and were instructed to flash their lanterns 3 times should they encounter any trouble. Well, they did just that, but by the time their mother reached them, all 3 had been murdered. Today, the woman wanders the cemetery every night, searching for her boys, and car lights sure do look similar to lanterns. You be the judge. So anyway, now I believe our buddy Birthday Kevin is got another story there, Kevin? You got them lined up?
Yes, I've got one here lined up that reminded when you told the Marfa light story. This one has a eerie similarity to it, and this one goes up to
A Yeri?
an eerie similarity. And this one doesn't go too far up, goes to Tennessee, good old Tennessee, and the Chapel Hill Railroad light. Scoffers and scientific explainers and skeptics do not shake the testimonies of the Tennesseans who have personally witnessed the gyrations of the Chapel Hill ghost light. These witnesses tell basically the same story. They tell of going, usually late at night, to a railroad crossing near Chapel Hill. They stand facing north between the rails, and the light comes swooping down the tracks toward them. It appears from nowhere, they say, a giant glowing ball that darkly vanishes, that quickly vanishes into the darkness. Quickly. Some witnesses say that the ball of light dances and cavorts around, almost as though if it were playing a game of tag. Others report that the light moves unerringly forward in a straight line until it disappears from sight. And when it disappears, the Chapel Hill light leaves behind an aura of uneasiness, of foreboding, of fear. The light, of course, does not appear on schedule. Months may pass. Lost my place here. Come on, man. Months may pass without a sighting, and then there may be reports for several nights in a row from witnesses who tell of seeing the luminous globe. But nobody who has seen the Chapel Hill light dismisses the experience casually, nor do many of the viewers desire a repeat performance. The light, according to one story told around Chapel Hill, is a ghostly lantern that belonged to a railroad flagman who lost his life in an accident near the spot. It was a dark, rainy night when the accident happened. They say days and nights of steady rain had washed the field from beneath a section of tracks, making it dangerous for trains to travel on. To warn of this danger, a trainman was given a lantern and was told to flag down a fast freight heading south out of Nashville. As soon as he heard the train approaching, the flagman moved onto the shoulder of the tracks and began waving the lantern. Nobody knows exactly how the accident happened, but it seems the flagman lost his footing on the wet incline, slipped, and fell into the path of the train. His head was cut clean off. And ever since that time, there have been stories of the ghostly flagman looking for his head. It is a logical, almost classical story. Similar tales of headless trainmen are told in other states, but there is no record in Chapel Hill of any fatal railroad accident ever happening there. However, there were other tragedies along those tracks, tragedies which many present-day residents of the small town still recall. Back in the late 1930s, along about 1938, a man named Skip Agent was struck and killed by a train at the crossing where the light is now seen. It wasn't long after Skip's death that folks began telling about seeing a strange light at the crossing. Some of the older residents say, seems like they connect the light with Skip's troubled spirit. That's what we've always heard. Other local residents reject that story. They contend the light didn't appear until after Mistress Ketchum was murdered. That murder was an awful thing, they recall, just awful. Mistress Ketchum, mother of 2 young children, disappeared from her rural home near Chapel Hill in late December 1940, according to local accounts. At first, there wasn't a big stir about her being missing. Some neighbors figured she had gone somewhere for a holiday visit, though it did seem a mite strange that she did not take the children with her and that she did not tell anybody that she had planned to go off. As days passed without anybody seeing or hearing from her, search parties were organized to go look for her. Foul play was strongly suspected, but nobody could find her body. Suspicion of being involved in the disappearance, it could not be called a murder at that point with no body. Mrs. Ketchum centered on a man who lived not far from her home. Gossips had linked him to the missing woman, but no open accusations or charges could be brought against him until the body was found. Then, after the woman had been missing more than 2 weeks, the suspect took his own life. Many people familiar with the case were convinced that a guilty conscience had prompted his suicide. The search was intensified. Teams of men scoured the bitter, cold countryside, but nobody found a single clue. Everybody termed it a really baffling case. Mid-1941, several townspeople, discouraged by lack of progress in solving the mystery, drove over to Shelbyville, some 20 miles away, to consult Simon Warner. Mr. Warner was a clairvoyant, a fortune teller, whose amazing ability to find lost things and missing people was known all over Tennessee and neighboring states. Mr. Warner listened to the story told by the Chapel Hill delegation, and said he had read something about the case in the Nashville papers. He thought a little while, and then he described in detail the spot where Miss Ketchum's body could be found. The description was so plain that some of the men recognized the place right away. The body, frozen stiff, was found exactly where Simon Warner had said it would be. It was hidden under a pile of brush. Warner had told about that brush pile. No autopsy was performed and no cause of death was listed on the death certificate. Mr. Lawrence does not hold with stories about the ghostly light. He doesn't believe in ghosts of any kind, and he wonders why people keep coming to Chapel Hill hoping to see the light. The light seekers do come, though not as many of them invade the little town as in years prior. Interest in the light seems to come in cycles. One very brave witness, let me go back and find his name, and his uncle and friend dared to go out during the night to the Chapel Hill Railroad crossing where the light was said to be seen. Jackie Gentry. He and his friend Pee Wee, that's a cute name, and his uncle were there to see the light, and Jackie could be frightened easily, so his uncle and friend kept teasing him about the light and about the ghosts coming to get him. They didn't really believe they were going to see anything, but then all of a sudden, a light appeared on the railroad track. The uncle and the friend backed off, but good old Jackie, he stood his ground. The light approached Jackie. It was like just a wide, big, straight light, like you see in that illustration there with almost flames coming out. They say it approached Jackie, came right up on him, and floated right through him. At the same time, Jackie says he felt a cold chill. The light danced about the tracks a little longer after it passed through Jackie, and then it disappeared. It was followed by a loud clapping noise on the tracks, and the tracks vibrated. Well, Jackie and his two guests made a hasty retreat after that and never returned to the tracks. But that's, I think, the closest encounter they got on the book. I think that was back in the 60s at some time when that happened. That's a good illustration of Jackie there coming face to face with the light. But people still today, every once in a while, they say people congregate near the tracks there at night and see if they can catch sight of the ghostly light of Chapel Hill coming down the tracks. So that's one of my favorite ghost light stories of the South, anyway. All right, now does.
Okay.
Oh, there's Kelsey.
I've got another one. I've got another one.
He's developing this stuttering problem. Have you noticed?
I've got another one. I got another one. Let's see now. Let's go to another part. Wait a minute. Now let's do this right, because I also have a phenomenon right there. Ooh. On a dark night in the Linville Gorge area of Morganton, North Carolina, you might witness the one of the Blue Ridge Mountain's biggest mysteries, the Brown Mountain Lights. For hundreds of years, people have seen ghostly lights moving through the valley from certain vantage points in Burke County. This unexplained phenomenon has baffled scientists, government researchers, local residents alike. And while there are many theories as to what the lights may be, no one truly knows for certain what causes them. Local folklore. Yeah, let's have a folklore, spoon lore, and knife lore. Folklore suggests that the lights are paranormal in nature, including tales of tragedy for early settlers and Native Americans. Scientists have tried to apply a more reasoned approach, suggesting something like natural gases as the cause. Despite multiple theories, no one's been able to bring forward any evidence to solve this mystery once and for all. There are multiple vantage points in the Linville Gorge where the lights have been spotted, but the most popular area is the Brown Mountain Overlook. From Morganton, head north on Highway 181 and you'll find a lookout between mile marker 20 and 21. Also, check out Wiseman's View, which is approximately 5 miles south of Linville Falls. It's located on State Road 1238, which is a gravel road. It's important to note that the lights don't always appear, but eyewitnesses have seen them all throughout the year. October and November are reported to be the best months to try to catch the show. There also tends to be an increase in sightings after it rains. The Brown Mountain Lights only come out at night, so before you stake out your vantage point, use your daylight hours to explore the area. There are multiple outdoor adventures, including hiking, fishing, biking, and boating. One of the more popular spots near the Blue Ridge Parkway in Linville Falls, a beautiful waterfall destination. You can also hike Hawksbill Mountain to find sweeping 360-degree views of the surrounding mountains and valleys. And there's also a clip of the Brown Mountain Lights here, but I'm not going to tune into that at this moment. But you start looking, and these cases are literally all across the country. I wonder if do they have these in other countries around the globe?
Yeah, I believe so. One thing about the Brown Mountain Lights, I've heard there have also been disappearances of people in those woods on the
Ooh.
mountains.
And that just falls in line with the show we just did.
Yeah, last week.
Yeah. The missing peoples.
Yeah, so if you go looking for the lights, be careful you don't go missing.
Yeah, take GPS with you and don't go by yourself. How's that?
Yeah.
So you got another one there, buddy?
Yeah, another Alabama ghost. This one's a strange ghost light. It's neither a railroad track nor a mountain. This one is actually a house in Tuscaloosa.
Alabama? Wait a
Yeah.
minute. Tuscaloosa, Alabama?
Yeah, Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
Lord.
And in fact, I had my picture taken in front of it. I forgot to put that one up, but I'll go ahead and throw up this nice spooky nighttime.
I have no idea where this crap's coming from.
I actually love it. I like that. That's me on a 20th Century Fox thing there.
Do you feel
like
special, Kevin?
Yes, I feel so special.
Oh, let me show you how special he is right here.
You got birthday candles, blow them out. You got birthday candles, blow them out. Everybody at the party start to gather round. Puffin', puffin', blow them out. It's your birthday, let's get crazy. I'll take the day off, they're gonna fire me. I came to pin the tail on the donkey. Shake them to the Richter scale, jobs on party. You got birthday candles, blow them out. You got birthday candles, blow them out. Everybody at the party start to gather round. Puffin', puffin', blow them out.
Were you crying?
I wonder if anybody's figured out it's my birthday yet.
Okay.
I don't think you've given enough
How old you are. Just kidding.
Oh,
I don't
me.
care. I'm 43 years old.
Oh, yeah.
Today.
It's not you're almost as old as the girl below you there. Below you there.
I'll slow down so you can catch up, okay?
Kevin, you got another ghost-like story from Tuscaloosa?
Yeah.
Is it scary? Is it really, really scary?
Yeah,
Is it really, really, really scary?
Yes, it is. This is another historic one. I found the picture of me in front of the location there, the Drish house.
Okay, there's a problem with this picture.
What's the problem?
Kevin, your head's too big. You're hiding the freaking building.
Well, there you go.
There you go. Okay.
Well, thanks a lot. I guess I got a big head.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have the pleasure of getting to do an overnight investigation in this house with Kim Johnston and a few other people, and we didn't stay all night, but we stayed past midnight. We didn't see the ghost light, but we heard a lot of sounds of glass tinkling coming from the tower where this ghost light has been seen. And that's why it's called, the story is best known as Death Lights in the Tower. And it starts out this way. Judge, come quick. Your house is burning up. The excited man beat upon the door of the old mansion, trying to rouse its sleeping occupants. Inside the house, Judge W.G. Cochran was awakened by the commotion and lay still for a moment, trying to identify the noise. Oh, no, not again, he muttered sleepily. But he got out of bed, threw his robe around his shoulders, and went to answer the door. The tower room is blazing, the man gasped at the judge. as he opened the door. "You can see the fire all over this end of town." "All right, let's go investigate," Judge Cochran said. Together, they climbed the 2 flights of stairs to the square tower room, and Judge Cochran threw open the door. The room was dark, no flames, no sparks, no smoldering ashes, not even a wisp of smoke could be found in that tower room that sits high above there on the Drish house. The visiting man shook his head in disbelief, and he hurried for the stairs. "I seen it myself. I seen it myself," he kept repeating as Judge Cochran escorted down the hall and out the back door. "Thank you for being concerned," said the judge wearily. "Have a good night." "But Judge, how many times has this happened now? And when will she stop burning those damnable candles?" The she referred to as Mrs. Sarah Drish, builder and longtime resident of what is now known as the Old Drish Drish Place in Tuscaloosa. Mistress Drish was a gentle, intelligent woman, but according to tales told about her home, it is her frustrated ghost who returns to alarm the neighborhood by burning the candlelight in the tower. Candles which she wanted to be burned around her coffin at her death. The story goes back to 1817 when 3 or 4 Owen brothers and their sister Sarah McKinney, a widow, came from Norfolk District, Virginia to Tuscaloosa, traveled by covered wagons, bringing their handsome mahogany furniture and other family heirlooms. Some of this furniture stood proudly in the Drish home, but that was later. About 1830, Dr. and Mrs. Drish built on the outskirts of Tuscaloosa, which is now a residential business section on 17th Street between Greensboro and Queen City Avenue, an imposing plantation home, which is best described as a Southern colonial with strong Greek and Italian Renaissance influence. So, in other words, these people were rich, very rich Southerners.
Rich?
They were rich.
How rich were they? How rich?
They were very rich.
Well, do you want me to tell a story now?
I hadn't gotten finished yet.
Well, you stopped.
So I just a tease.
Oh,
Such an elaborate estate required much attention. Dr. Drish was unfortunately a very poor manager. It was widely reported that he gambled and drank and did both very poorly. Often he would take a boatload of cotton from his plantation down the river to Mobile to sell. Weeks later, he would return to Tuscaloosa with nothing except a terrific hangover and a remorseful conscience. Usually, he had to be put to bed and carefully nursed for some time. It was after one such trip that, tormented by his own guilt and by sadness over the increasing madness of his daughter, Catherine, he was, what are you laughing at? Increasing madness. In fact, Catherine was. Okay,
Kevin. I know you're from Alabama, but that's extremely slow.
not that Catherine below. This is Catherine with a K.
Okay, he spells her name wrong.
Well, there's my big head to prove my stupidity. Okay.
Okay.
I was actually standing across the street when that photo was taken, so it looks like my big head, little hat. But anyway,
you talk about huge.
But it was at that time that Mr. Drish got out of bed screaming, and he rushed toward the stairs. And the servants tried to hold on to him, but he stumbled to the curved stairway, shrieked, and fell down the stairs and died. For many years after that, his ghost has been heard stumbling up to the stairs and tumbling down with his agonized cry. Before his burial, Dr. Drish's body lay in state with candles burning around, the same candles that were to provide another restless spirit with a reason for haunting the Drish house. Mistress Drish, after the funeral, asked that these candles be put away to be saved until her death, when they were to be lighted again around her coffin. And unfortunately, those candles over time were lost. When Mistress Drish died, one of the old servants reminded Mistress Green, I think who was the head of the house, of the dead woman's almost obsessive wish. Old Miss said 100 times she wanted them same candles burned at her funeral. Mrs. Green, the niece, Mrs. Green, made a search, but not a very diligent one, for the candles, but they were not found. Mrs. Green had not been present for Dr. Drish's funeral and did not attach any real significance to her aunt's request concerning the candles, possibly dismissing it as a whim of some old and addled woman. She paid no heed except for a show of impatience when the servant kept repeating, "We got to find them candles. Old Miss gonna walk. Old Miss gonna walk for sure." The candles were not found, and Mistress Drish, though given a proper funeral, was buried without having those candles to be burned. Soon afterwards began the strange appearances of fire in the tower room, sightings which for many years caused the occupants of the house to be ousted from their beds by false fire alarms. Some people have tried to find scientific explanations for the fiery lights seen in the tower, but those wise in the ways of the spirit world never doubted that old Miss was indeed walking and had come back to her home to burn her own death candles. Now, she's also proven to be kind of a helpful spirit, as seen as in this illustration. One of the prior owners had 2 young daughters, and both claimed that during the nighttime in their bedrooms, as they lay in bed almost asleep, they would hear the bedroom door open. Tiny or kind of small female-like footsteps come across the floor. They would feel cold hands grab their covers and lift them up to cover them in the night. The first time that happened, one of the daughters thought it was their mother. But when they asked the mother over breakfast the next morning about it, the mother denied vehemently that she had been up there and tucked them in. So not only was Miss Drish known as the flaming candle ghost in the tower, but she was also known as a comforting spirit that liked to tuck in her guests at night. But to this day, people still claim they have seen the lights in that window. Now, I got a funny addition to the story. While we were doing that investigation that night at Drish Mansion, where my big head was seen outside there, what was funny, it's sad because right across the street from that roundabout where that mansion is, there's a bar, and people get sloppy drunk there. This was a Friday.
And you're one of them.
I was not. This was a Friday night, and there were people over there. We had to wait until late for the music to die down so we could do our stinking EVPs, because we didn't want the EVPs to be contaminated with drunk people and rousing and music in the background. What's funny is I went in that tower room, and I don't know if you can see it, but there in the middle are those open windows, look like archways there. The ones at the very top, there's empty space. That tower room is a really tall room. It looks like there's 2 levels there. That's actually one tall room that goes up in front of that house there from the 2nd floor up. You can look up and it's tall. It's like looking up at a hallway above you. So, but I stood at those windows with my camera light on, and I wasn't thinking. And I look out the window, and I'm there where the ghost lights have been seen. I look down, and there's these 2 probably drunk guys at the bar across the street, and they're pointing toward the house, toward the windows. And both of them made a hasty retreat to their cars. And I went back and I told Ken, I laughed. I said, I think I fooled a couple of drunk guys into thinking they saw the Drish ghost over here in the window. They probably thought they saw the ghost light. But people still go look for them. It's not far from the University of Alabama campus, so college students like to go down there late at night and park and see if they can spot the lights in the windows. And also, it is open. You can go in there and walk around. They do events there, weddings and stuff. It's a beautiful place.
It is. It is indeed. So we're now down to our last 30 minutes of this insanity.
To answer that question down there, that was featured in 13 Alabama Ghosts and Jeffrey.
That's what they thought, yeah. So that's why I put that up there for you. All right. Now let's go to another part. First of all, with this little bit of time left, you need to go to that website right there and get your wishing machine. They have now been shipped, and people own my wishing machine literally all around the world. Canada, Australia, Mexico, Germany, Greece, Rome, Italy. I assumed the Pope needed a wishing machine there in Rome at the Vatican. They didn't tell me that, but I kind of got the feel. Sent one out to Greece today, the UK, literally, and of course all across the United States, from Alaska to Georgia, Florida, New York. Just amazing how many people have now owned and purchased and having good success with Dr. Kelsey Wishmaker, the wishing machine. So drkelseywishmaker.com, go there, or snooze, you lose. What can I say? So, there we go. Okay, folks. So now we're going to go to a different part of the globe than where we just were, and we're going to talk about some more mysterious lights. This light is known by many different names: Ozark Spook Light, the Hornet Ghost Light, the Joplin Ghost Light, the Devil's Jack-o'-lantern, and the Tri-State Spook Light. Like the many other will-o-wisp lights, a mysterious glowing orb that has appeared regularly on this back road since, again, approximately 1881. You got to remember, when these lights first started appearing, there weren't many lights. Like, we don't have all the ambient lights, back then that we have now. It's a whole different world then than it is now. No one knows. Well, some say it was spotted by natives long before even 1881. They're claiming it predates even the Civil War. And of course, earlier in the show, Kevin had given some information about some spook lights that Cahaba that were around the time of the Civil War. No one knows for sure what it is, but some possible, of course, explanations are they always go to this natural gas theory, rotting organic matter. So and these lights are seen around the world. Now, it says reflected car lights, but if they were seen in 1881, I just really kind of, don't you doubt that there would have been car lights that would have created this in 1881?
Yeah.
So it kind of takes away from that. But there are many rumors surrounding the Ozark Spook Light. There's many rumors about it, as there are names for it. It is variously the torch of a beheaded Quapaw, or Osage Indian, searching for his head. The spirits of a young Quapaw couple who were in love but forbidden to marry because the man did not have a large enough dowry, and leapt into the spring river to their deaths. The spirit of a miner decapitated in a mining accident and carrying a lantern, searching for his head. The spirit of a Confederate sergeant killed by cannon fire who is searching for his head. A lot of headless people. Or the spirit of a miner searching for his children, kidnapped Indians. Though there used to be Spooklight Museum. Uh, and let's see, I've got a picture. Oh, that is right there. Spooklight Museum. I've already got it up there. Um, it's been shut down, but the building with the sign still remains on the road. So before you go, Spooklight Road is 11 miles southwest of Joplin, Missouri, just past the village of Hornet, in the area where Missouri borders Oklahoma and Kansas. That's why it's called the Tri-State Spooklight. The light is most commonly described as being visible from inside the Oklahoma border looking to the west. And it just goes kind of on and on and on. And I believe, yeah, not only a museum, but somebody actually did a little book. 25-cent Tri-State Spooklight right there. So there you go. And we have an amen, Brother Ben. You got another story there, Mr. Kevin.
Yeah, I found another Alabama spook light called Abel's Light. Have you ever heard of that?
I haven't, no.
The author writes it in first person here. And his name is Iron Butler. This is at a place called Owl's Hollow. I hadn't heard of that. Oh, well, actually, I know the location, though. Owl's Hollow is a sparsely populated and peaceful location nestled at the foot of Lookout Mountain in North Alabama. Running for about 20 miles along the southeastern edge of the mountain, the hollow rests between Lookout Mountain and Shinbone Ridge. Its width spans the better part of a mile, and in my opinion is large for a holler, as I've always known a holler to be in the South. It is officially known as Owl's Valley and appears as such on most maps. Few people outside the local area have any knowledge of the hollow, and even fewer know of Abel's Light. Since I was a young man, I've heard the story of Abel's Light and have ventured many times to witness this tiny yellow spectral light among the trees in the area of the old Abel farm near Turkeytown. The farmhouse and barn existed throughout my childhood, but finally succumbed to the relentless advance of the years and disappeared into the earth from which it sprang so many years ago. The light can be viewed from the road that stretches the length of the hollow in only one place. It can be seen only in the coldest of months when the leaves have fallen, and it disappears gradually as the trees put on new leaves in the spring. Excuse me there. The area is overgrown with so many trees and undergrowth that even as many times as I've been there, I have trouble locating the only vantage point from which the light can be seen. It has been several years since I last saw the light, and I wonder if it endures without being witnessed. The story behind the light goes like this. In the early part of the 1900s, Owl's Hollow was, of course, even more sparsely populated than it is today. Large tracts of pasture land, excuse me, and hardwood forest covered the floor of the hollow, accommodating only a few homesteads connected by narrow, rutted roads. One family living here was the Abel family. Mr. and Mrs. Abel had 3 children, the youngest of which was a son named Henry. Henry was 4 years old when one bitter, cold December evening, my screen keeps jumping. One bitter, cold December evening, he disappeared. The weather was so cold that the urgency of finding the lad was of immediate and overriding concern for every family member. A frantic search in the area near their home by the family failed to turn up little Henry. Word went out to the neighbors for miles around, and they eagerly joined the search for young Henry. All through that first night, searchers came and went from the Abel house. Having a cup of coffee and warming by the fire recharged the searchers. They doggedly returned to the task at hand in the bitter, cold darkness. The search continued the next day, but there was no sign of the young boy. No tracks, no scent trail for the hounds, no nothing. 3 days after Henry disappeared, the general consensus among the searchers was that he was likely dead of exposure and might never be found. Henry's father could not accept this as the fate of his son and never stopped searching. He would leave home in the mornings and come in only when he was so hungry and exhausted he could not continue. Grief-stricken to the very brink of madness, Henry's father lived a tortured existence, and the entire family felt his suffering. The work around the farm was beginning to pile up in his absence as he searched on. Even though the other family members were doing double duty to maintain a normal existence, the work still piled up. On occasion, a neighbor would come by and help Mr. Abel with his endless search or with the farm work. Henry's father searched even at night, carrying a kerosene lantern as he rode on horseback over the same roads he had covered 100 times before. 1,000 times he called Henry's name as he rode. This went on for months to no good conclusion. Finally, Henry's father did not return from his search one night in mid-March. His horse came home and was discovered the next morning in the hallway of the barn. Henry's older brother began a search for his father, and within an hour located his body hanging by his neck from a forked limb in a blackjack oak just off one of the roads that he had searched so many times. I don't know who put the ads on the stupid site, but I like to strangle them. It keeps okay, that's what's causing it. All right, it's still jumping. Okay. So he had they located his body hanging by his neck from a forked limb in a blackjack oak just off one of the roads he had searched so many times. He had apparently accidentally hanged himself in the dark when he rode the horse under the limb. His still burning lantern was in his hand, and his eyes were wide open. One would think his search was finally over with this horrible event. That was a long time ago, and since that time, there have been many sightings of a dim yellow light amongst the trees during the coldest months of winter. Two explanations offered by the locals are said to explain this tiny spectral light that is viewed from the road on higher ground. One part puts forth the light as Henry's father riding his ghostly mount, carrying the lantern as he slowly moves through the woods. The hoofbeats of the horse can be heard on especially quiet nights, punctuated by a man's voice calling the name, Henry! This chilling display is visible from mid-December until the middle of the month of March, when Mr. Abel was overtaken by his most unusual death. The second part of the story is that the lantern can be seen but not moving. This part asserts that the light is Henry's dad holding on to the lantern as he hangs in the blackjack oak. As the trees begin to put on their leaves, this light becomes harder to see with each passing day and finally disappears completely under the new canopy of green leaves until the next December. Both parts of the story are equally chilling, and which part one observes depends on the month in which the observation occurs. I have witnessed this ghostly light on a number of occasions. I've heard the hoofbeats. I've heard a distant and desperate voice calling Henry's name. It's real, and it's there to see in the cold winter months. I can't help but wonder what I've seen. And I have questions. If Henry's father's spirit still lingers in an unfulfilled and seemingly endless quest, can little Henry's spirit linger somewhere out there in the cold, inescapable clutches of a dark winter night? Is it possible that they will ever find each other? Why do I feel both saddened and exhilarated by my sighting of Mr. Abel's light? How would you feel? Ooh, that's a good ending to that article. That's a good article. I had not heard that story. I've noticed.
Yeah, this is Abnormal Alabama, and Kevin gets to talking. He don't know when to shut up. But what have you noticed?
Hey, I noticed that there's an angry face emoji up here. What's that all about?
I don't know. There was a guy that just got approved for Abnormal Alabama, and he immediately went in and started acting stupid. So he's no longer part of the crew.
Was that his emoji?
He's the one that asked, and he didn't even. His spelling was awful, and he asked if that was from the book 13 Ghosts.
Yeah.
So I don't know what was wrong with it, but if you notice his where is that? Okay, you can see that.
Right there. 13 Alabama Ghosts.
Yeah, Jeff. I don't know why that bothered him, but then he came back and said, "There we are." Like, so what? Anyway, it's like I don't have time for that. You know, he was brand new, just approved him for the group, and it's like, if you don't like what we do, go somewhere else. I don't care.
Yeah. Who cares where that's from? It's a good story.
It's not like we're getting paid to do this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We're just having fun and sharing some good stories. And we've covered a lot of territory. You know, we're almost into a 2-year anniversary. I'd have to go back and try to figure out exactly when we started. But I know it's getting close. Within a couple of months, we'll have done this pretty consistently for 2 solid years.
I think it was March. I think it was early March.
Yeah.
Early to mid-March.
And I think we've only missed 1 or 2 shows out of that whole time. I think, you know what I'm saying? You were out of town. We hardly missed anything, really and truly. It's amazing. So
they even carried on while I was in the hospital.
Yeah, yeah, we did it all the way through. We sure did. But we've been talking about ghost lights, and there's all kind of stories. I cannot think of the mountains out west. I thought they were along Texas, along the Mexico border. I just can't think of it, and I can't find it. I'm brain dead tonight. I'm all stuffy. I got some sinus issues, so that's kind of affecting what I'm doing as well. If you haven't, we're down to about the last 15 minutes, and if you haven't noticed yet, if you haven't paid attention yet, there's something special going on.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Cupcakes, dreamers, piñata, balloons.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Kevin.
Happy birthday, Kevin.
And happy birthday from Iron Man.
All right.
That's just fantastic. It never gets old.
You're gonna have some weird dreams tonight. Cats dancing around in your head. So what do you got for the last 15 minutes of our show time here, Kevin?
I got, well, there's another ghost light story in my head. That's one of, I guess, several legends told about Bayview Bridge. I'm sure you've heard of Bayview Bridge.
Well, which one? There's a bunch of them all over the creation.
Well, the one in Bayview, Alabama, over there. Gosh, I don't know if that's in Jefferson County or.
Well, there's another one up in Hartselle, up in Morgan County. I actually did a video up there.
There's one in Tulsa too.
This one, I think it's the Mulga, Alabama. Let me see. Where is Mulga?
Oh, you know, Mulga is Meth Alley.
Meth Alley. Yeah, but they have a ghost light there. They've got the apparition of a woman that's been seen crossing the bridge. It used to be a covered bridge. They tore that down and put up a regular bridge that goes over the Bayview Lake. Bayview Lake is there.
Lake. Are
that's
you looking
why
for
it's called Bayview Bridge. Well, I know the story. I don't have to look it up.
Oh, okay.
In fact, I've been to Bayview Bridge late at night, at midnight, when they claim you're supposed to see the lady crossing the bridge.
Did you?
And I did not see a lady, but I got to tell you, there was a creepy ass fog on that bridge. That just, you couldn't see it anywhere else, just on the bridge. There was a fog, and we drove through it. And when you got inside, you could not see jack squat outside the car windows. And then we got on the other side of the bridge, and it was behind us. But it wasn't on the lake. There wasn't any fog on the lake, no fog anywhere, just on the bridge. So I don't know if something natural can do that. I mean, I could see if the whole place was foggy, but it's just right there on the bridge.
One spot.
But there's also a ghost light, and that goes back to, turn of the century. They claim that once upon a time, there was a man that worked at the local steel mill who lived in a house near that bridge there, and it's since gone. But they claim that he was a very jealous man. He didn't like any man talking to or looking at his wife. And at the local church one Sunday, he caught her and a gentleman sharing a smile at each other across the room. And that was enough to set him off. He took her home and demanded to know, who is this guy? She swore up and down it was just a smile. So he let it go. But he came home one day for lunch, not long after, a week or two, and he found that his wife in the arms of that man. He'd seen her smiling at church. They were in the middle of sex in the bed. And boy, did he get angry, but he didn't say a word. What he did do, according to the story, he didn't say a word now. He just walked quietly out the front door, picked up the axe from the wood pile, turned around and came back into the house, went in the bedroom and went to swinging that axe and chopped both the wife and the lover into little bits and pieces. They say he then took the pieces and went to Bayview Bridge below on the shore there where the water runs under the bridge and buried their bodies. And he did so by the light of the lantern that he carried with him, a kerosene lantern. Well, some time went on, and he thought he'd gotten away with it, but apparently a couple of local dogs dug up the remains, and the local authorities put the pieces together, and they found out the man had done the deed, and they hung him, I believe, or it might not have hung him, but they did away with him some way or another. But since then, they say people have seen a light underneath the bridge where that man had buried the bodies. They say it's his lantern still lighting the area up so he can still bury the pieces of his wife and her lover. And some have added to that story and said that the lady that has been seen crossing the Bayview Bridge is indeed that man's wife, and she is carrying a lantern of her own and holding her head. So that's a light seen on the bridge and under the bridge. Now, science would say, that's probably reflections, whatever else. I would say there's not nary a record of that story anywhere, so it's probably a tall tale. But there have been just for as long as anybody can remember in that area, there have been stories of ghosts on Bayview Bridge. And I can't even, speaking of that, I won't even try to count how many crybaby bridges and crybaby hollers there are out. There's a lot of them out there in the Southeast.
Well, that is not unusual, to say the least. It's amazing how many of these ghost light, and I never heard it called earth lights, but ghost lights there are. And I didn't look, excuse me, about other parts of the world, and I've got right on the tip of my tongue that mountain, and I just can't get it out. But that was the first time I'd heard of any kind of ghost light. Anyway, I'm lost. I've been trying to, but I want to share something real quick while we're looking for another story. This is Ghost Light. Ghost Light. So let me see. Make sure I share the audio this time. Won't be any good without that, right? Okay. Okay. There we go. Can you see that?
It's better on a really dark night, like when it's cloudy, misting. Sounds spooky, but that's the best time to see it. Sometimes you'll see one, and then it'll break off into maybe three. I don't see how it could be natural. It was there for too many years. It was there back in the 1800s.
It was just right in the woods somewhere. There's a ball about that big around, and it was yellow. It just kind of moseying its way on through there. And when I got up, come out the door to get a better look, it was gone. And that was the last time I seen it, about a couple months ago.
We used to live out there on Jute Road, and it's close to where the spook light is, and we always had people coming by in the middle of the night, waking us up and asking, "Where's the spook light?" And Daddy would always give them directions.
Closer, closer. It will come right up on the hood of your car.
It moves there, not so much up and down as it does more or less sideways. I know a Corps of Engineers and different universities have come down and studied it, but there, everybody has their own opinion, so never have caught it, so it's still there. Must be a female. She don't want to be caught.
It used to be kind of like a lover's lane. People went there to park with their girlfriend, and when this light began to come down the road and get closer, usually she wasn't shy anymore.
I don't know, I guess back then it was more of a common thing, but now it's just kind of a little joke. Like parents way back then, they'll go see the spook light and then they'll, get a little ornery, and well, we know where it goes from there. So we'll call each other the spook light accident. So it's just a little joke.
Things was a little bit more laid back in the 60s. It was all gravel down there. You never seen a police officer down there. From what I understand now, they patrol it quite often. They started having knifings down there, had people shot, had several rapes. You never heard of that back when I was going down there. It's just not the same. And you had a feeling of energy, excitement. Now it's just blah humbug like normal streets.
Oh yeah, it's spooky.
It was
Exciting, spooky, however you want to put it. It was just in the anticipation aspect.
That's
of
it. Anticipate.
Yeah, because you didn't know if you were going to see it or not. You'd be out there, but you didn't know what you were going to see. It could just be you and somebody else, one-on-one personal moment. Or it could be something like, holy crap, do you see that? One of those things.
Well, it could be there, not there, and then it'd be
Right behind you. And somebody else would be going through the same issue you just did.
Yeah. What are we talking about?
I did. I saw it go from white to orange.
Well, that was them headlights from over there on the turnpike.
Probably police lights.
Oh, yeah.
No, that'd be red or blue. You know that. No blue light.
There you go. Well, I want to spend a couple of minutes here focused on something very special.
It is your birthday, let's have some fun. It is your birthday, let's have some fun. It is your birthday, let's have some fun.
Kevin, happy birthday. Kevin, happy birthday.
Cupcakes, dreamers, piñata, balloon.
Kevin, happy birthday. Kevin, happy birthday. She got birthday candles, blow them out. She got birthday candles, blow them out. Everybody at the party start to gather round. Puffin', puffin', blow them out. It's your birthday, let's get crazy. I'll take the day off, they're gonna fire me. I came to pin the tail on the donkey. Shake them to the Richter scale, jobs on party. You got birthday candles, blow them out. You got birthday candles, blow them out. Everybody at the party start to gather round. Puffin', puffin', blow them out.
Happy birthday, Kevin.
Happy birthday, Kevin.
Oh. And happy birthday from Iron Man.
Well, we had to make it special.
That's a good stuff.
All right, we're down now. What are we going to talk about next week, Kevin?
I don't know. Let's see. We did disappearances last week. Spook lights this week. Too bad they don't have spooky fart stories. That'd be fun.
Fart? Did you say fart?
Spooky fart.
That'd be her specialty.
I was thinking some dream stuff.
Dream stuff.
Yep.
About that sleep paralysis.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah, that would be easy to find stories about. I
Oh,
see
there's
all
a bunch
kinds of sleep.
of that out there. So
Yeah.
everybody remember, next Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Central Daylight Time, we will be back. And it sounds like we've got a plan for a change. That we're going to talk about sleep paralysis and dreams.
Paralysis.
Is there anyone out there that can interpret dreams? There's some people say that they have a dream every time somebody dies. They dream about it the night before or something like that.
It's about 2 weeks before.
Okay, so let's see. That gives
Between
Kevin
2 weeks
about
and a month.
Kevin's got about 3 more days.
I haven't dreamed about Kevin, but I did have a dream about you a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I figured that. Kevin is going to have a weird dream tonight. Kevin, happy birthday. All right, folks. Thank you all for joining in, and this will be archived as usual. And hey, if you don't like us, you don't have to hang around us. It's no big deal. We don't care, okay? And we enjoy doing this. There's no money involved in this whatsoever, but we do shamelessly self-promote. So other than that, everybody have a good evening, and we will be back in a week.
All right. See you guys.